Hi, Jeff here today to talk to you about another energy exercise. This one I call Ho-Oh tapping. And what is it good for? Well, anytime you experience stress, right? That is the whole idea of all of these energy exercises, is that when you experience some kind of stress or you have some kind of trigger that triggers a stress response, your nervous system and your energy systems go out of line, right? So these energy tools, these exercises, are then used to help bring your energy system back to a homeostasis or a balance, or your nervous system back to a state of balance or homeostasis. So this one, Ho-Oh tapping, could be used for literally anything. Anything you could think of, from a headache to digestive issues, or maybe you've got a pain, like a painful shoulder, or you're not sleeping well, or got a bad nutritional habit of eating ice cream at 10 o'clock at night, and you want to try to address anything through through Ho-Oh tapping, you certainly could do that. So what this is then is a combination of several different energy modalities that are out there, and they're all wonderful. So none of these are mine. I just found that combining some of these things together, we're creating more potency or more impactfulness with it. So if you have heard of fast tapping versus EFT, emotional freedom technique tapping, 8 to 9 points through EFT, fast tapping breaks that down into 4 tapping points and one, typically a wrist hold in that. And there's some statements that go along with that tapping sequence to help bring the energy system and the nervous system back in line after having experienced a stress response. So, but if you've also heard of Ho'oponopono, this comes from Hawaiian culture, and you could look more deeply into both of these things. The fast tapping, you could look into Robert Smith, would be the creator of that, and you could do your own research and learn more about him, or you could look up Ho'oponopono and look back into the history of that, as the Hawaiian culture has used this for a long time. But the Ho'oponopono uses for the main essence of it is using 4 statements, and those statements would be I'm sorry, as statement 1. Statement 2 would be please forgive me, and then you would state I thank you, and the 4th statement would be I love you. So those would be statements that you would express outwardly to in Ho'oponopono. They would refer to that as the speaking of those terms would be to a higher power, to your creator, to divinity, or to God, or whatever the higher essence or higher being that you might believe in, whatever that might be referred to as. These statements are just basically being set out to the universe, or to that other aspect, and in realizing that aspect is a part of you, as you come from that or made from that as well, and through that, making these statements, there's an impact on the body as you speak these statements. So let me go through those statements, and then I'm going to add a 5th on at the end of my own that I use in my own body code sessions with clients, and then we'll go through the tapping points real quick, and then we'll do the whole thing together, and then I'm going to tell you about a really cool thing you can do with it afterward. Okay, so I'm sorry. Basically, what you're saying, like if you say I'm sorry to someone, what are you doing? You're acknowledging that you've done something wrong, right, to them. Whether you spoke ill of them or whatever it was, you hit them or whatever might have happened, right? I'm sorry. You're acknowledging basically that whatever the challenge is or the difficulty or the thing that went wrong, you're taking onus for it. So you're taking ownership of what is going on by saying I'm sorry. So if you're dealing with a headache, you're saying I'm sorry that I've allowed my energy system or my nervous system to give me a headache. So you're basically owning whatever it is, with the pain or the stress response or whatever it is. Okay. Statement 2 is please forgive me. So you're just stating that out to the cosmos or to the universe, and you're asking for forgiveness. Then, like, please forgive me. I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes. I'm sorry, and please forgive me. And then you're just acknowledging that with the 3rd statement of saying I thank you, that you have been forgiven. That you believe that this higher essence, higher power, is made of or only rules or resides from a space and a place of unconditional love. So no matter what happened, you're going to have forgiveness because there's no conditions to it, right? It's unconditional love. You're totally forgiven. So you're just stating the fact that I thank you, that you're thankful for the forgiveness that you've gotten. The 4th statement then, excuse me, would come out as I love you. So you're just stating back, like, thank you, I love you for looking after me, kind of concept. in that as well. And again, in that statement, I love you, knowing that you've come from that higher power or that higher creation, you're also saying that you love yourself, is another aspect of that. So what we're going to do is associate the tapping points from faster tapping, with those 4 statements from Ho'oponopono. And then the final, instead of a wrist hold that would happen in the faster tapping, we're going to do hands held over your heart. And that would come mostly, in my understanding, through the Heart Math Institute, where they're holding your hands over your heart, helping to create a brain and a heart coherence that way. And that helps to bring the nervous system and the energy systems back in line as well. So, and during that, we'll take a nice slow in-breath and out-breath. And that slow, gentle breathing also helps to create heart and brain coherence. And then the statement that I'd like to use there is kind of wrapping up some of the statements that would be used in faster tapping. But again, what I had mentioned, what I use in body code sessions is a statement such as this: I willingly, lovingly, and trustingly choose to let this go. So the willing part, I willingly, meaning you want to do it, right? And then I trustingly, I lovingly, I willingly, lovingly, yeah, sure, I'm coming at it from a space or a place of love. I'm not doing this like out of hardship or anger. I'm doing this in a loving manner. And then trustingly, meaning that you're trusting that it's actually safe to let whatever challenges has come along, to let it go, that you're announcing or proclaiming that it's safe to let it go. You have this willingness and this lovingness and this trust in letting it go, that it's safe to let it go. And then, so I usually say, I willingly, lovingly, and trustingly choose to let this go. So again, choose is important because you're saying, you're choosing, you're wanting, that you are making the decision that this is happening. We're using those statements to speak with the cosmos, I guess, the prior 4, but here we're also saying personally yourself that you are prepared to let this go. So by using these things over and over and over, those statements become very, very potent and very, very impactful, like an affirmation might, or a mantra might, if you were to use it long term over and over and over. So the 4 tapping points, and the 5th stage is resting your hands on your heart. So 5 steps, 5 phrases. The middle, the tapping would be on the eyebrow. If I try to give you a better view, I'm going to suggest with these to use 2 fingers, and I'll explain why. Basically, we're hitting 2 tapping, 2 meridian points per section on the tapping. So the bladder meridian is going to come off your eyebrow, and in the middle of the head, if you take right between your eyebrows and you place your finger in there and you wiggle it around, you might find a small indentation, and that's an extra non-meridian point, energy point on the body that has highly beneficial. If you look into traditional Chinese medicine, they might refer to that as the head and neck point number. I'm just referring to my notes. Head and neck point 3. Head and neck point 3. And it's usually EXHN, extra, head and neck point number 3. So anyway, so one finger would be landing right central between the eyebrows, and the other finger would be landing on the bladder, beginning of the bladder meridian there. Well, bladder starts on the inside of the eye and then goes up. So that's actually point 2. But by tapping with 2 fingers, you're hitting those 2 energy points. Then you're going to move to the side of the eye. And in there, you're going to get the triple warmer meridian, the finger that's going to be slightly wider, triple warmer, and the finger that's closer to the orbital bone on the side of the head, that'll be in your gallbladder meridian. So you're getting the 2. So just off the orbital bone, again, if you feel around and wiggle around, you might feel a slight or small indentation, and the other finger will just be beside it. And that'll be the triple warmer meridian. We know that the triple warmer meridian goes haywire when stress response happens, so that's a help to sedate and calm things and to tap there. And then the other one is under the eye. There I kind of stack fingertips, one above the other, and you're working on stomach meridian, point 2 and 3. 1 and 2, 1 and 2. So you can just go off the bottom of the orbital bone around the eye, just about there, and the other finger would just be directly under. So you're kind of tapping on the cheek space. If I do it this way, you can see. But if you want, you can stack them so you're hitting those 2 points. And then the 4th point would be the collarbone point, kidney 27. On the bottom of the collarbones, if you follow the bottom edge toward your sternum, you'll find a little indentation there on both sides. And I would suggest you might as well just tap both sides, or you could use one set of fingers, an index finger and a thumb, and you can know those 2 points and do it that way, or you could kind of do a fist or something across to get them all. So you would tap and repeat those statements if you'd like, prior, you could note, okay, this headache, if we use a headache as an example, I have this headache in a scale of 1 to 10. It's a 8 out of 10. It's a really bad, it's almost a migraine. 9 might be a migraine for you. So 8 out of 10. And you're prepared to go through this just so you can have a starting reference. And after you do a round, you might go, okay, it's gone from 8 to 6, and then it's gone down to 4, or maybe to 0 in a couple of rounds. So just having a reference point of where to begin and to make your way down. So as always with any energy exercise, set a good, positive, loving intention that you are prepared to allow this technique, this tool to work for you. So you're setting up strong belief and some love behind it that, yes, I want this to help my headache. So you could set that intention. You can use your good posture and your calm breathing throughout. Put a little smile on your face. Well, even though you have a headache, it might benefit you. I know it will benefit you. But then you would go through those points. So you could begin tapping on that point, and I would say the first one, you could expand on that, I'm sorry, but literally your subconscious mind knows what's going on. You're dealing with a headache. So you might say, I'm sorry, I'm dealing with this headache right now. And then you can move along to the side of the eye. Please forgive me. And then you can move to under the eye and say, I thank you. And then you can go to the collarbone points and you would say, I love you. And then you can lay your hands over the heart space and chest, however you want to do that, overlap them, and then I willingly, lovingly, and trustingly choose to let this headache go. And in that state, from this space, take a slow, gentle inhalation through the nose. We know that breathing in through the nose gets your parasympathetic system more in line. And then a slow, gentle exhalation. And allow the body to become more calm with that slowness and gentleness of the breath in and the breath out. That is highly important as well in a lot of these energy exercises, the slow, gentle breathing. You can add other visualizations into that by envisioning the headache dissipating, or the pain, or the whatever it is dissipating in your mind's eye as you do that gentle breath. Then you reassess, go, oh, 8, it's, okay, the headache's 5. You would repeat another round and just do another one really quick. So again, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. I thank you. I love you. I willingly, lovingly, and trustingly choose to let this headache totally go. Good. And there you have it. There's a tool that you can use, Ho'o tapping, just a combination of a bunch of other energy modalities together to give you some success in finding an alleviation or a relieving or a releasing of any trauma or pain or discomfort or heavy emotion that you're dealing with in the moment. But really, what could be really cool with any energy exercise is that if you practice and use it frequently and enough, you may then be able to eliminate the actual tapping aspect. You could, as you're practicing, you really pay attention to how that feels as you tap in that space. Really pay attention to how that feels as you tap in that space. Pay attention to how that feels as you tap in that space. Pay attention to the feeling as you tap in that space, or pay attention to how your hands feel resting on your sternum. And speaking the words out loud can be more impactful, but then you could practice by just speaking internally and doing the tapping points, and then you might envision just feeling the sensation of the tapping without not actually doing it, while internally saying those words, and then letting the whole process happen silently. Or so the idea is that long term you're basically just sitting, if you wanted to use this in a non-intrusive way in a workspace, for example, or somewhere where there's lots of people around and you might feel awkward tapping and doing these things in public, but you really need to use the tool and you've used it a lot. Maybe you just sit calmly and you, in your head, you're like, okay, I'm tapping here, I'm sorry, I'm tapping here, please forgive me, I'm tapping here, or the energy point is being stimulated here, I thank you, and we're tapping on the kidney point, but not physically doing it, but just mentally doing it. And then you're also saying, I love you, and then you're here, and you're saying, I'm willingly, lovingly, trustingly choose to let this go. So literally you could sit there and just kind of have a moment to yourself to run those statements through your mind as if you were going through those 4 points, and then just take a calm breath. And having practiced and conditioned the actual sensations of and training the energy system to return by the actual tapping, we can then train mentally to go through those just naturally happen by visualization. And then you can use a technique like this or any other energy technique if you practice any other tapping point or any other pressure point, the sensations, the feeling of it, and really ingrain it into your mind and into your imagination, your creativity. You can then replicate it without actually doing the physicality component or aspect of it. It's just that mental component that then could come into place. So you could really expand and use any energy tool or exercise in this fashion, but especially for this one, Ho'o tapping, certainly you can use that. So that's a great tool for dealing with stress, the stress response, and anything like that. But clearly, what is the trigger that brings upon or brings you back into a state of stress? It's your perception, right? And what are your perceptions based on? Basically, your perceptions are based on your beliefs, what it is you have in mind that you believe, jumping out of a plane to do skydiving, I believe that's scary as heck, and that's not for me. Where someone else might be like a total thrill seeker and think of jumping out of a plane as the most exciting thing that could possibly happen. So they have a different belief statement that's fantastic, and you might have a belief statement like, oh my God, that's terrible. So the root cause of what's triggering your stress responses potentially are belief patterns or belief statements or limiting or empowering belief statements that you may have within your body. Those typically are what triggered emotions come back to and are relying on the programming of your belief statements. So the reason I'm bringing that up is, of course, for the body code. The newest edition of the body code expanding on and into is the belief code, and through the belief code you can dig down to the roots of the real causes of some of these issues that you might discover or come across through any stress response. So when you can get back to the root of the problem by finding out what beliefs might be contributing to your response to or your perception of a situation, maybe having those belief patterns taken away or removed could bring about a permanent situation where you can just permanently not be triggered into a stress response that maybe you've done for the last 20 years or whatever it might be. So anyway, if you are interested in learning more about body code sessions or belief code session, you want to have a session or schedule a free discovery call, you can look in the description and we can touch base, and you can reach out there and we can set up a time to chat about how the body code through the use of the belief code could certainly help to correct or reset your nervous system and brain system or mental system so that you're not triggered as easily or more deeply into trauma and pain and heavy negative thoughts and those kinds of things. But otherwise, please enjoy Ho'o tapping and practice with it. And if you have any comments in that, I would love to hear them, and that would be wonderful. Thanks for taking the time to watch as always, and may you be blessed, and we'll be back again sometime soon to share more energy exercises or energy tools, and maybe even to talk more about the body code. So check out the description for any details, and thanks for your time. We'll talk again soon. Peace. Bye.